Blessings and welcome to the path to freedom and to freedom. This beautiful path, this to a moment. Welcome to a moment of setting ourselves free, of expanding our consciousness, of raising our vibration, of allowing for something greater and grander of that which we are to emerge from within. My name is Daniel Roquillo, and as always, thank you so much for tuning in, for joining me, for participating, for being willing to participate in the unfoldment of who and what you are, in the unfoldment of your soul. So, thank you. Today, we are speaking and talking and exploring one aspect of spirit. So this is a spiritual path, which means that we will get nowhere unless we explore what spirit means, what spirit is, what God is, what the higher power is, what the universe is. It's one thing to walk around with an image of it, but we need to continuously, and we're all being called to continuously go deeper and wider and higher, to explore, to excavate, to release and let go of that which no longer serves. So one aspect, I mean there are so many principles where God is concerned, so many spiritual principles, and a spiritual principle is a statement of absolute truth, which means that it is unyielding, it is unchangeable, it is absolute, it is not up for debate, it is not up for discussion, but it's an isness. It's an isness. Not subject to time or anything like that. One aspect of all of this is that God is always expressing itself perfectly. Always expressing itself perfectly. That spirit is always right on time. It is never late, it is never early. It is always expressing itself with divine and perfect action, in divine and perfect action, through divine and perfect action. Meaning that whatever happens, regardless of our perceptions or judgments or opinions about it, whatever happens is just perfect for us, so that we may continue to grow, to expand, to allow for the next great and grand version and expression of who and what we are. However, oftentimes, many of us, we tend to believe that we know what is best for us, that we know with our finite minds, with these puny, tiny little physical bodies and their quite extraordinary but still very limited senses, that we know what needs to happen and how it needs to happen and when it needs to happen. And today we're exploring why we're wise to move more into thy will be done than my will be done. God is perfection. We need only look to nature, and I absolutely love looking to nature. I look at nature every single day, and nature is such a beautiful teacher. Such a beautiful teacher. There are no random acts in spirit. There are no mistakes in spirit. There are no meaningless acts in the totality of consciousness. But everything has a meaning, everything has a reason, everything has a purpose, and everything has its place. And something happens to us humans when we involve the words me, mine, or I. When we take ownership, when we claim ownership to something that is near and dear to us, then something happens. So few of us would have any opinions about the clouds, what they look like, how many of them there are, when they show up, when they go, when they leave. But many of us have lots of opinions about things that we attach ourselves to, like manifestations of different kinds. As we're moving along the path of manifestation, as we're continuously moving deeper and deeper into being conscious co-creators, some of us are not all that conscious, but we're still moving through life, being so set on having it our way, on the things that we want, and when we want them, they are going to show up. And if they are not showing up the way we want them to, if they're not showing up when we want them to, then something's off, then something's wrong, that needs to be fixed. And there is so much suffering in my will be done. There's so much agony in trying to micromanage, in trying to control, in trying to dictate, in trying to make things happen. I shared in an earlier message that my wife earlier this spring planted these geraniums in different pots, and she put these pots in different places. Some of them she knows that they are best fitted when planted to be in a dark space. So she put some of them in closets where there's close to no light at all. Some of them, because she wanted them to grow faster, some of them she placed in the windows. And absolutely, the ones placed in the windows that were flooded with sunlight, they grew much, much faster. They grew much, much faster. But the thing is that when she brought forth the geraniums planted in or placed in the closets in the dark, they were so much more vibrant. Their leaves were so much greener. Their stems were so much more powerful and strong. They were so much more vital than the ones placed in windows, simply because they had been allowed to unfold at a pace that was just right for them. The ones placed in the windows, they were placed there to grow faster. In other words, to make something happen, to speed up. But as God always expresses itself perfectly, unless we intervene with our free will, allowing us to make conscious choices, we can either deviate from the perfection or we can play along with it. As a beautiful statement goes, we can in no way, shape, or form improve the efficiency of spirit. So we get to trust that even though slow growing may not fit into our personal calendar or time space, that is the perfect way for geraniums to grow. And this is so in life, and this is a big thing for me. Trusting the perfection of spirit, because my mind is so set on wanting to see demonstrations. It is so set on wanting to see the manifestations of the expansions that are happening in my life and within me. And while I'm not putting dates into my calendar or onto my calendar, there's still that sense of being impatient. I want myself to move faster. I want to be farther along and all these things. But hey, Spirit knows nothing of speed. It knows nothing of quantity. It only knows quality, and everything has its own place and in its own time, and we get to trust that timing. So if something doesn't show up when we want it to, it is because the perfect time for the manifestation has not yet come. There was another statement that I just thought of. It passed through my awareness as I was speaking, and now it's gone. It's lost, my goodness. I'll never get it back. Of course I will, because God always expresses itself perfectly. But what was the statement? I want to catch it. I want to share it. I want to bring it into this conversation. Now it's completely gone. So moving on. We get to trust that whatever happens, even when things seem out of sorts, even when things seem bad, as on this planet right now, there's so much happening, so much coming to the surface. There's violence, and there's bigotry, and there's racism, and there's all these things, greed, adversary, so many things happening. And if we're close enough, it may all seem bad. But when we get to step back, when we get to take on a higher vantage point, we get to see that just as puberty, which is sometimes very chaotic in a person's life, even puberty is an expression of perfection. Without puberty, kids will not grow up to be independent adults, but we would be small, childish, clingy, very dependent kids in an adult body. But puberty is a space of freedom. It's a space of cultivation, integration of the individuality of an individual. So puberty is necessary. For a healthy adult to come into fruition. That is perfection. Perfection is everywhere if we only look for it. Or actually, if we only, look for it, and if we only release and let go of our judgments and opinions about that which is happening, our thoughts as to what should and should not be. We get to trust. And much of this that we're speaking about, it is about trusting. Trusting three things. That Spirit is all there is. That this loving presence is benevolent. And that it is expressing itself perfectly. When we know, the more steeped we are in these realizations, the more peace. Remember, this is the path of setting ourselves free to be in ever-expanding peace, to be in ever-expanding love and joy and harmony. This is the path where we get to set ourselves free from fear, worry, and doubt, from a sense of not having enough, from a sense of not being enough. So the more we understand who and what Spirit is, the freer we will get. So this is the invitation for us today, to take a look at where we are not trusting the perfection of Spirit. Once again, not once again, but it is once again, because I bring this into this space so often, the lily on the field, which to me represents a space of trust, a space of surrender, a space of not trying to make anything happen, of trusting the perfection, of trusting that Spirit is the sole source and supply of everything. The lily on the field, it doesn't spin, it doesn't toil, it doesn't worry, it doesn't fret, it doesn't effort, it doesn't try to make anything happen, and yet it is so beautifully provided for, simply because it is in such a profound space of alignment, of oneness with the one source of everything, the one mind. So I think the invitation really is for us to look at where we are not trusting the goodness of life. Where are we believing that life is against us? Where are we fighting life? And obviously the subsequent questions are, so to move, to allow for ever-expanding peace, to allow for ever-expanding joy, to allow for ever-expanding trust to well up from within us. What is it that we need to release and let go of? What is it that we need to become aware of? Where does healing need to happen? Or we can flip the coin. What is it that we need to cultivate within ourselves? Habits, thought patterns, perceptions, ways of moving through the world, in the world. Spirit is trustworthy. That's the essence. It's not the statement that I thought of before, but I kind of like it, so I'll toss it into the conversation. The ego says, show me God and I will trust you. Whereas God says, trust me and I will show you. And that's how it works. That's how it works. We need to take the first step. We need to trust the perfection of Spirit. And when we do, it shows up beautifully, as it does for all of nature. Thank you so much for tuning in, for participating, for joining me. Until we meet again, I absolutely bless your day, and I absolutely bless your way, knowing, feeling that right where you are, all is well, that something wonderful is happening, that everything is working for the highest good. With much love, many blessings. Namaste.